What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. So this is um let's talk about, or we need to talk about Cosby part 2. So this episode really focused a lot on his transition in the 1970s and what happened during the 1970s. So we left off at the end of last episode where it says that around 1968 he started changing his image and focusing more on education, and that being his focal point, his thing. In 1968, he hosted a Black History special on CBS called Black History on the Straight. It was an Emmy Award winning documentary or special. They said that CBS had a series of these specials, and it was really the first time that we saw on like mainstream TV Black history. Bill Cosby was the host, and they talked about how, and they showed clips of it, and they talked about how his affect was very angry. It was very condemning of the whitewashing of our history. It was very much about what we never learned in our history books about, black men and how we're referred to. I mean, it seemed like it was a really good program. I wish they would maybe retouch. Well, they wouldn't do it now, but it looked like it was a really good program. But again, it was the first time a lot of people saw Bill Cosby this racial, and even, I would even say, radical to a certain extent. Definitely for him. They talked about during the 1970s, of course, I Spy Is Over as a TV show, and it talked about how he moved into acting, and he made movies. They said about a movie a year he was making, and he did a little bit of everything. He played everybody from the devil to, a James Bond type, and then we know about his movies in the late 70s with Sidney Poitier, Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, and I always forget the third one, but they're teachers. I forget about it. Anyway, I always forget about the third one, but it's Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, and dang, I always forget the name of the third one. But anyway, and what I didn't realize, because of course, where I am now growing up in the 80s, I remember seeing Uptown Saturday on TV and Let's Do It Again, and we always enjoyed it, and I thought those movies were hits. But what we're finding out is that they, even though they're cult classics now, they weren't hits when they came out. And in a very nice way, they basically said that he was making money and he was working, but he wasn't achieving that superstar status. He also had a variety of shows. They said he had 3 different shows in the 1970s, and none of them were hits. None of them were hits. And so we see that he's trying to figure it out, I guess. But it was also around this time that he went back to college. Now, we get into a little bit of his history, which his educational background, which I really didn't know a lot about. I knew he went to Temple. I knew he had a PhD, but I always heard that his PhD was honorary. I didn't know he had actually gone to school and earned a PhD. But not so fast. Let's go back to the beginning. Bill Cosby attended one of the most prestigious high schools in Philadelphia, but he did not graduate from that high school. He transferred somewhere during those 4 years, and he ended up going to Germantown High School, which is less prestigious, and he still did not graduate. He actually ended up dropping out of high school. He went into the military, where he earned a GED. Then when he got back from the military, he went to Temple, where we know he dropped out after a year. Somewhere in the 1970s, he was able to earn an honorary degree from Temple. Y'all know what that's about. So he went to the University of Massachusetts, where he got a master's degree in education. I believe it was in education. And then he went on to get his PhD. Now, he got the PhD during the time that he was doing Fat Albert. And a lot of people question whether he actually earned the PhD. There are allegations that somebody else wrote his dissertation for him, and his dissertation was actually on Fat Albert. So I, as someone who hoped to one day have those 3 letters behind their name, I ain't about to hate on the man that has one. I'm just giving y'all the information that was given to me in the documentary, okay? However he got them, he got them. Because I always thought they were honorary. I didn't realize he had actually gone to a school and attended classes and so forth and so on. Also, during this time period, again, he made an album about drugs, which, of course, in light of where we are today, very ironic. He developed a relationship with PBS where he produced a segment called Picture Pages, which used to come on during Captain Kangaroo. I never did like Captain Kangaroo because I wasn't familiar with Picture Pages, but that's probably because I never watched Captain Kangaroo. I remember Captain Kangaroo. It ain't do it for me. Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was not my thing. The Electric Company, I used to love the Electric Company. That was my shit. But he also did segments on the Electric Company. We know about Fat Albert. And of course, all of these shows he was using as a way to educate kids. Because again, that was his big push. That was his big focus during this time period. He was also still doing stand-up. Doing stand-up comedy. So he was very busy in the 1970s doing a whole lot of variety of things. But unfortunately, he was still out here doing, allegedly, other things. Now, they said that he really enjoyed Vegas. He enjoyed playing Las Vegas. He enjoyed Nevada. I'm sorry. He enjoyed playing the Las Vegas Strip, but he also enjoyed performing in Reno and in Lake Tahoe. Now, they made a big deal about him wanting to perform at Lake Tahoe. I'm not sure why. They never really explained what the issue was. Like, are they trying to say that Lake Tahoe is away from the mainstream? And so I'm not sure why they made a big deal about it, but okay. He liked performing at Lake Tahoe. And staying in Lake Tahoe. But we also start getting a variety of, again, accusations. The first one, well, not the first one, but, well, this is the first one. There was a young lady who was at the Hilton, I want to say it was either Reno or Vegas, where she said that she was there with her sister, and her name is Theresa Senege. She was 19 years old, and this allegedly happened in 1976. She was in the gift shop with her sister. Bill Cosby walked up, told her the necklace she was trying on looked lovely, and gave them tickets to his show where he was performing. Invited them backstage. They were backstage playing backgammon. Again, he gave her a drink where she said that at some point she started feeling woozy. And she said, this game isn't fair anymore. And he said, why? She said, because I can't see the board. She passed out, woke up the next morning. I'm sorry, y'all, because the story blended together. She passed out, woke up the next morning, blamed herself. She said, I shouldn't have taken the pill. I knew it was a bad decision. And so she blamed herself. She went home. And again, she didn't tell anybody because she felt like she had done something wrong. Then there was a student at the University of Massachusetts when she said that she was in school getting her master's degree, and she saw that Bill Cosby, they were having some sort of like symposium on campus about education. She saw Bill Cosby was a speaker. She asked a friend of hers, why is a comedian entertainer here to talk to us about education? And that's when she found out that he was actually enrolled getting his PhD at the University of Massachusetts, and he had gotten his master's from there. So she said, oh, okay, well, that's maybe a little different. So she went, she heard him speak, and she was impressed. She said, he absolutely let us know that he was passionate about education. It was important to him, and he knew what he was talking about. He wasn't just some, entertainer that was there just trying to get some attention. He really knew what he was talking about. So she said the next day she saw him on campus signing autographs, and she went up to him to shake his hand. And she told him, I really enjoyed your speech. And he was like, really? And so he said, well, are you a teacher? And she said, well, I am a teacher now, but I'm actually trying to be a singer. And he said, oh, really? He said, well, I might have some people that can, help you out, get you in the right places. So he called her a couple of weeks later, she said, to invite him to his home. and she thought there were going to be some people there, producers, whatever. She got there, and there was nobody there but her and him. She said she felt a little uncomfortable, but again, and the one thing I can appreciate about these women is that they're not trying to excuse their bad decisions. Because again, I'm not victim shaming. But there's always not always. Sometimes there's a point where we go, maybe this isn't what I thought it was. So she's not, she's like, listen, I stayed, and she said that he had her doing improv because she also said she wanted to be an actress. So he gave her a drink and he had her doing these improv exercises. And she said at a certain point she realized that she couldn't really walk too well anymore. And next thing she knew, she woke up the next morning, laying in the bed naked. He was standing over her, brushing his teeth. And she said that he was like, she said, what happened? And he said, oh, well, you threw up in the bathroom and you passed out. And she said, well, where are my clothes? He said, well, I had to wash them, I had to wash your clothes. And so she said she didn't think anything of it because, again, she couldn't remember anything that happened. And she believed him. She took him at his word and she believed him. She said, so she said she got up, she said, and now she's mortified because she's like, oh my gosh, this man, this famous, actor was going to help me get my, big break. And I done drank too much and got drunk and passed out on the bathroom floor. So she said, a couple of weeks later, he called her again and he said, hey, I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm going to be in Atlantic City performing. Why don't you come down? And so she said she went down and basically the same thing happened again. And that's when she realized, oh, this wasn't me. This wasn't me. This wasn't, I drank too much. But this was, same thing happened. She said she felt the same queasiness to her stomach, the same sickness, the same passing out. She said, and this time, she felt like she had been penetrated. She said she can't prove it. She can't say for beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's what happened. She said, but she felt that way. She said, and I'm not trying to go under any sort of hypnosis to prove that it did or did not happen. She said that, when people asked her, well, why didn't she go to the authorities? And she said, well, honestly, I didn't know you could go to jail for infidelity. She said, because again, being young, it didn't occur to her that it was assault. It was, we had sex and he's a married man. And that's a bad thing. And again, like I said, these women are not trying to make themselves out to be these angels that make, but just in general. The one thing I do notice, though, a couple of trends. Well, let me get to the rest of these women, and then we'll get to the trends. Then there was a cocktail waitress at a casino. Story very similar. She got invited to a party at his place. He was performing at the hotel which she was working. A friend of hers said, hey, you want to go to a party? Bill Cosby's room. They get there. Same thing happens. Linda Kilpatrick, she said that she's talking about Las Vegas. She was a member of a private country club in Las Vegas. I think she said this was 1981. Her and her partner played, him and his partner mixed doubles at this tennis tournament at the country club. And he said, well, I'll bet you, if you guys beat us, I'll get you tickets to my show. And she said that she wished that she absolutely wished that that's the one match she wished she had lost because, of course, they won. She went to the show backstage. Same thing happens. And again, he calls her back a couple of days later. She goes back because she was she was a teenager. And again, she was thinking, well, what I thought happened, it must not have been anything bad. I drank too much because, again, he called her and made her think that, oh, you just drank too much. Oh, it's okay. Don't tell anybody kind of thing. He invited her back. She went back a few days later. It happened again. And one of these stories, I can't remember if it was the teacher. The next morning he told her, oh, you just drank too much last night, but you got to go because Camille's on her way. The one thing I noticed, other than the drink being a common denominator, also noticed that a lot of these women were young. We saw that the youngest age we've seen so far, I believe, was 17. When all this stuff when it allegedly happened. So again, we're seeing these trends. So towards the end of the 1970s, going into the 1980s, stand-up comedy is transitioning out of records and albums into these HBO specials. And of course, we remember Richard Pryor and Lenny Bruce was who I was trying to remember in the first episode. And some of these other, because now I can't remember anybody else, but some of these other comedians, they're doing these stand-up specials. And so Bill Cosby that's when Bill Cosby made his famous Bill Cosby Himself special, where he actually sat down the whole time. And I remember that comedy special, and it was hilarious. And they were saying how, comedy is getting more and more raunchy with the cursing and the vulgarity, but Bill Cosby was still able to make people laugh without doing all of those things, right? And in his comedy special, himself, a lot of his jokes were about being a dad, and a lot of the anecdotes were about his family. And so a lot of people feel like that he used that as like the blueprint for the Cosby Show. And that's pretty much where that episode ended. Those allegations in this episode started in 1976 and ran through 1981. So again, you guys, I'm just bringing y'all the facts as they presented to me, but it definitely sounds like a pattern. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. We'll take care of episode 3 and 4 in a couple of days. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.